You're listening to the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, are considering getting on the mats, or maybe taking your best self to train. When you want to survive, start training Jiu-Jitsu. Lucy, hello.
Hello.
My guest for this episode, Lucy Wheeler, blue belt. Talk to me about surviving.
I think it's important. I think as a person and someone doing jiu-jitsu for however long, survival is key.
I love it. How are you doing, Lucy?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
We skipped out the first bit because I needed to explain what the survive jiu-jitsu was all about.
It's important.
It's very important because you work in the healthcare sector. And you've been training jiu-jitsu for how long now?
Just over 2 years now. I think it was like 2 years last week. So yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I've been training a year about last week. So we're kind of on a nice rotation. It seems like a good thing. You know, often there are quite difficult things that happen at the kind of back end of a year, and putting in place some really successful, encouraging things to celebrate and to start doing is really important, I think, for well-being.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think jiu-jitsu as a whole for well-being is massively important. And I think, it makes a difference. No matter what you're doing and why you're doing it, it makes a difference. And you're surviving, so it's even better.
Absolutely. It's all about surviving. So talk to me about your job role and how that kind of fits in with your training schedule.
So I'm quite lucky in that I now just work normal. So I work normal hours, so I'm quite good. So round training is absolutely fine. My job role is quite intense. I am a scientist, so I'm using my brain a lot. I'm not on my feet as much as I used to be, but it's a lot of brain usage, a lot of talking to people, managing people, avoiding people, working with people, emails, everything. So it's quite nice to have that sort of switch off of being able to walk home, get changed, get ready and go to training. And it makes that difference. I think the downside is definitely I'm absolutely knackered all the time. But if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. And that's, I think, the main thing is that if you don't enjoy it, what's the point?
I absolutely agree. Enjoying something, whether it's your work and or your hobby or everything, really.
Exactly.
That's I think maybe that's the survival bit. It's the enjoyment, making life worthwhile. That it's not just a survival thing. You're kind of, what's the cliche? Thriving.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it sounds great. You've got your work schedule, you've got your training schedule, and everything works, apart from feeling a bit exhausted every now and again.
Yeah. I think that comes with training with people who are half my age, trying to, again, I think this is going to be word of the evening, trying to survive. It's difficult.
And
I probably train 7-8 hours a week on top of full-time work. So, it is exhausting. But again, it's quite nice. I can Saturday, Sunday train in the morning, then I've got the rest of the day to kind of chill, relax. It's the kind of, I only do 2 evenings a week. So those evenings will sort of Tuesday and Thursday morning will be a bit, but actually it's good. It keeps me young and healthy, fresh. Maybe not fresh, but
okay. Okay. We can have fresh because, I also train with people half my age. And I think that's one of the things, the resilience and the energy of all these young people training jiu-jitsu. And it does keep us on our toes. It does give us a fresh awareness. I love when new people come in because actually they're using their kind of initiative. They might not have the skills and techniques, but it still gives you a bit of a run for your money, though, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice bit that, whatever rank or however far you've progressed or how many years you're training, you can still be surprised by somebody new coming in.
it's when you get the younger people that come in and that they just have it. And I don't know what it is. And you roll with them and you're like, I have been training for so much longer and I just can't get it. And it's also like when you're drilling and you have people who just pick up the technique straight away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you see all those memes where you've got like the stars going off in the background. And I mean, that is me. You know, our coaches are really good, but they explain something. And then you're like, hang on a minute, I just need to go back. I can't remember what just happened. And someone else just picks it away. And it's mortifying.
I know. But that builds the resilience as well, doesn't it? That if we don't get it straight away, that we're still there plugging away, still trying to master these moves or positions or techniques, but actually, you know, stepping back in awe and appreciating just someone coming in fresh off the street, as it were, and just having a go and mastering it, you know, the logical mind, whatever it takes. I think maybe there needs to be some more research on how those people come in and just master that move off the mat straight away. I'd love to know. That's got me thinking now. I'm intrigued.
It's like a different, like it's a different brain power, isn't it? Like it's using, like I'm obviously a scientist by trade. Everything it kind of to me is a very scientific way of doing things, but like your brain, you're learning differently. Like there are different ways to learn. Like I think we're trying to coach. Our kind of system has kind of moved on a little bit more, and it's very much about like finding your own way. And I think it's really, really good because you try and drill something with someone, and that's wonderful. But if you then put it into practice, finding your own way, it's the best way. And it might be wrong, but it's fun.
You'll have to excuse me for my cough. It's that time of year. And I've skipped one training this week and I'm desperate to get back on the mats and just get on with it. Although I was at a massive trampoline park today, bouncing around all over the place. I know, it was good. It was okay. From a medical perspective, the pelvic floor was okay. I had 2 C-sections. So being a lady in her 40s, everything held together. It was okay.
That's all right.
I did have a couple of DMs, you know, asking for a friend. Did you wet yourself? No. Thankfully not.
No anywhere. It was fine.
But that's the reassurance. For anyone, anyway, ladies, you can do it. It's fine. We just need a little bit of assistance sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the logical mind and the scientific mind. I think that brings, you know, lots of dynamics to the mat. But, you know, like you're saying, there's lots of other ways to learn. And I come from a kind of creative and a logical background. And sometimes I'm a dancer by trade. And I know we've kind of had a chat offline. And it gets mentioned a lot. It will continue to get mentioned because, it's about the balance and control and the core. But one of the things I do to learn from other people, I literally step back and watch other people drilling moves and go, oh, okay, that's what I've missed. That's what I need to do. That's the bit or the technique or the position of the foot or the grip or the whatever. And I think from observing other people, for me, that's a really good way, as well as, your professor demonstrating the moves. It's how other people can do those, because we're all different shapes and sizes, and one thing doesn't work for everybody in exactly the same way. I'm, rather short. My legs aren't particularly long, so keeping guard is a problem. Lucy, I know you're probably a bit taller, and the guard thing is probably quite, one of your fortes, maybe.
I am a guard player. Well, I say I am. I try and be a guard player, mainly because I like sitting down. If I can sit down, that's my absolute just immense.
Nice. So when I chatted with Emily Isles a couple of episodes ago, and she was saying that she drills one move. And I know I've only had a year in my jiu-jitsu career, but she'll kind of drill those moves and practice those moves for maybe a year or two. Is there anything you're working on at the moment in terms of your techniques and kind of skill?
I try and focus on a few select things. So like training during the week, we obviously pick up bits and pieces, and throughout rolling, kind of works that you're picking up those techniques. But I tend to think about something that I'm struggling in, like with my rolling and stuff. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a technique. It's just like one sort of change or something that I need to work on. I'm trying, not really, because I haven't been in for a week. It's a bit like, I can't really remember how to do jiu-jitsu. So I think when I get in on Monday, I'll be like, that's what I need to do.
Okay, but Lucy hasn't forgotten how to do jiu-jitsu. You know, I think, you know, that's, I would say you definitely haven't. You know, it's like, okay, cliche here. It's like riding a bike. You never forget. You know, you're back in on the mats and you go, yeah, what was I talking about? Of course I know what I'm doing.
But also, I don't know if you've ever found it. Monday session, not that I'll big it up, Monday session will be one of the best sessions that I've had all month, because I've had a break, my brain goes in, I'm completely fresh, and I can move really, really well when I've had that break. And it's when I've got my strongest kind of movement is when I get to that point. And it's the ones I love when I've had that kind of time off. So yeah, It does make that difference.
I like that. You know, if you that's a benefit maybe to take a break. You know, maybe you've got a cough and you have to have, you know, a bit of time off the mat, or you've done something, or you pulled something, or you whatever. Because we all have these minor injuries occasionally. I don't think my little fingers have been straight for the last 6 months.
Mine are my toes. I've got broken my toes a couple of times. So
have you?
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do with broken toe? Do you have? Is that all? So it's like broken toe. Just get on with it. Strap it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for anyone that does have any of those minor injuries, I always go, well, it hurts a lot. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? But yeah, there we go.
I like, in my mind, if it hurts, strap it. Obviously, if it still hurts, maybe don't do anything. But if you could do stuff with it, it's fine. Like,
that's reassuring, and that's from, not that you're giving out healthcare advice.
No, absolutely not.
Not. But you know, when you have these things, it's like I didn't know what to do. My little finger, it's like not straight. And I broke that one when I was 17 ice skating somewhere. Yeah. But anyway, this one was straight and it's not now. But it's like I can't tape it to the next finger because I can't do anything. And then I'm always like, well, if they see that it's taped, then it's a weak point. I'm not going to tape anything that anyone can see, because then I'm there.
Then what you do, you make it symmetrical. So you tape the other hand as well, and then no one knows it's a weak point, you see?
I love that. There's a tip for you. If you have an injury on one side of your body, tape the other side as well. Love it.
Absolutely. I can't remember who it was. So it was ADCC, whatever it was. Wasn't last year, was it? The year before. And basically they got their ankle cracked. And basically they strapped up both ankles so that they didn't know which ankle it was that was Duff. So they didn't have that kind of one-upmanship on that. So it is a common thing amongst jiu-jitsu to strap up everything and strap up symmetrically.
I like that. I'm taking that one away. This is a Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. When you're ready to pick up some Jiu-Jitsu Lou merch, head over to jiu-jitsulou.com/shop. And if you want to get your hands on a discount, sign up to the newsletter at the bottom of the website. Today, I'm having a conversation with Lucy, and it sounds like we're picking up all sorts of fantastic tips, Lucy. But I want to get to the crux of your jiu-jitsu journey. And I know we've spoken offline about women's camps and competitions. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to open the mats for you to have a conversation.
Yeah. So I've done 3 women's camps, and I've done 2 mixed camps, basically. And I've done a fair amount of competition. I say fair, maybe not that much, but I've done enough.
Oh, yes, we met. We weren't competing, but we met at one of the local competitions, and it was lovely to see you.
Yeah. So I did my first competition in the March after I started training. So I started training the kind of just before Christmas, whatever year it was. It feels like it was about 5 years ago. It clearly wasn't. And I did my first competition in the March of that month.
Yeah.
And I flailed miserably, and it was awful. I got Ezekiel'd in 1 minute and 34 seconds.
No.
But bearing in mind, I've been training for about 4 months. I was, quite lucky. Like, I decided quite early on to sort of do extra training. So I do like a fair amount of like one-to-one training as well.
Yeah.
And then, so I did that. And then I went and spent time with Mark at Mats in the Mountains. And that's where I met Emily for the first time. So she was one of the instructors on that course, which was basically 2 days up in Snowdonia. Wow. And it was with Era Culverwell, Emily, and Chelsea Lear. So really like 3 quite strong women in jiu-jitsu. And obviously it was amazing just having a load of people on the mats that, I mean, we don't have a huge amount of women, like I would say probably more now than, but, on a mat at one time, it's probably like 9 women, whereas you've got a room full of like 50, 60-odd women.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And it was very much, it was an eye-opener for me. Like, so many different types of people, different styles, different strengths, rolling with men predominantly, men are horrifically strong, but it's just quite nice to have that variation of different women to roll with and feeling the different strength. And then, I just enjoy them. I went to Julius Gardoni's camp. That was, I literally have no idea when it was. It was last year sometime.
I always see them advertised. I know she's got a judo background, and she managed to pull off a really neat judo throw at the last Polaris. We'll get on to that in a minute.
But yeah, so I've done 2 of her camps now, and I've got another one booked with her in February, and then I did Beachfront BJJ in June, July, whenever it was, which was also amazing. So Mo's got a really good setup there down in Exmouth, which he's a lovely guy as well. And it was like, it wasn't just jiu-jitsu, it was like yoga, there was off the mat, there was like open water swimming, there was a whole load of stuff, and that was with Owen O'Flanagan and Ash Williams, and that was really, really good. And again, there weren't that many women there, but there were different women. Like I met Kerry Isom down there, who she's just been promoted to brown belt, but she's just been on last. She was on Polaris, and she's just been on Enyo as well. She's lovely. So you just get to meet a whole load of people, and you kind of, because we're such a small sort of minority of women throughout jiu-jitsu, you tend to get to know different pockets of people.
Nice.
And it's just quite nice. And I'm not like a really social, outgoing person, but it's just quite nice to be able to meet people and be like, oh, hey, and then be able to see them again and kind of have that rapport with them. So,
No, that's really good. And you talk about, training with men, and, we've got a bunch of women at our school and lots of men, and it's having that variation, but having the variation amongst women and knowing our capabilities, but, connecting with other people as well. I've never been on any women's camps, and do you travel quite a lot? Is this kind of, I know you travel for work, because I've seen you've been not all over the world. I've seen a number of locations recently. So that's kind of in your comfort zone to travel a distance for training. No,
absolutely not. It is so out of my comfort zone. Wow. I don't like change. I suffer with anxiety quite a lot. And it takes quite a lot for me to get out and do stuff. But in my mind, jiu-jitsu is like the end point of having like a purpose to go somewhere. Nice. So I did the first camp of Julia's I went to. I took someone I knew, someone I'd actually met on the previous Mats in the Mountain camp. So I knew people. But the beachfront BJJ that I did last year, I didn't know anyone. I went firmly by myself, and it was
good on you.
Honestly, it's so difficult to get me in that room, but it's so worth it when you get there, because what you get back is really, really important. Like it's really difficult, but for me, like I have an endpoint. So I went to Lisbon last year, for work, and I actually went and trained at a GB in Lisbon.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
They did not speak any English whatsoever, and I was like, oh my god, why am I even here?
Wow.
There was only 2 of us in the class, so it was basically like a private session, and it was fairly like basic takedown. But actually, I was so proud of myself that I'd gone over there, I got it done, and it was like, do you know what? This is what I need to be doing. Like having like the language of jiu-jitsu. It sounds really sad, doesn't it? But it's
it's amazing. I just had little tingles then when you said the language of jiu-jitsu, and I think you've kind of nailed it there.
Yeah, like I think it's important. Like it's if for people who, I am obviously single, you know, I don't have a lot sort of going on elsewhere in my life. Like I need to go out and do things. I want to go on holiday. I want to go and do stuff, and that's my way of being able to do that. Like I can then go and meet people. I can go and have coffee perhaps after a class or whatever, you know. It's that kind of capability to be able to do that. So it's important.
I agree with the, you know, being single. I'm single too, but it's having building a network that isn't in the dating zone. You're there to learn and develop yourself, and it's all about literally developing yourselves to be better. And I think that's one of the joys, actually. You know, obviously a lot of people at school that, you know, married, have young kids and whatever, but actually to take time out of your own work life and your home life to just go and do this thing for you, not because of anybody else, but primarily for yourself. I just want to say congratulations and well done on overcoming the anxiety to do those things. Turning up in Lisbon, not being able to speak the language, but like you say, the language of jiu-jitsu, you're able to, you know, learn the moves. And I'm assuming they were incredibly welcoming and, you know, kind of brought you in, and which is amazing.
I think they thought I was a little bit odd, a bit like, who is this English person that's just rocked up? But, you know, like it was my first experience being abroad or being somewhere different to go and train. And I think it's important. Like I try and look everywhere I go now. I try and look for a gym to go to. Like I was in Glasgow a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, I couldn't train at that point. But, you know, I always look for gyms close by. If I'm traveling, I kind of make sure that I'm maybe staying somewhere that there might be accessibility to the gym as well. So, yeah.
Nice. I've only kind of toured kind of London. I took the kids to London and did some stuff over the summer, and you know, I was looking up the local jiu-jitsu schools, and obviously we packed our gi for a photo shoot. Actually, it was kind of a family thing, but actually, you know, we got in a couple of sessions that, you know, whilst you're there, why not experience what this jiu-jitsu story and family is outside of, you know, your local thing. And I know a number of listeners travel usually around the world, so you know, if you can fit your gi in your bag, then you know, the world's your jiu-jitsu mat.
Absolutely. Like I think it's important, and again, it kind of highlights what you've got at home and your training that you've got, as well as, you know, you get that dip into what other people are doing. But for me, I really enjoy it because I basically go away, train elsewhere, and then it feels like I'm coming home, and I go to my gym.
Nice.
And it feels really familiar, and it's so nice to see everyone and train with everyone. So it's just kind of having that I'm back at home type thing. So
maybe that's your reward, you know, having to go through that anxiety and overcoming the challenges that those give you. You know, it sounds like you're an incredibly brave individual. Whilst you have anxiety in these situations, you're still going to overcome it. But actually the reassurance that when you come back to your jiu-jitsu school, it's home and it's safe and you're there and you're surviving.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. See?
It's all right. I made sure I had that link through the episode. It's okay. So I want to hear more about Polaris, because you were fortunate enough to be in the front row at Polaris in Southampton with Julia Scardone on the mat.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So I obviously I asked her for tickets. Well, that's very wrong. But she was like, let me know if you need tickets. So I sent her a message. I was like, brilliant. Just, it'd be really good to get a couple of tickets. So me and one of the other girls that I train with went down, and it's an amazing, I don't know if you've ever been to Southampton, but like to the city hall or whatever it's called.
Yes, I'm familiar with it, but not when it's set up in that scenario.
It's an amazing venue. Like you have the mats in the middle, and you have all of the kind of the seats around the outside, and you could, wherever you sit, even if you stand up at the back, you can see everything. And it was amazing. And obviously there were some really good women on the card. So like I've mentioned about Kerry. So Kerry Isom, Jade Barker was on there fighting her. Molly McCann obviously was fighting Julia Scardoni. And it was a really, really good card. Obviously some of the men as well, like Tommy Langacker, Oliver Tazza.
I love the fact that, okay, so by 2 years in, I might know these names and be a lot more familiar with it. Being so new, I'm going, I'm going to go and look them up and follow them on Instagram after this episode, Lucy. Thank you. And I'll put some of the links in the show notes. But all of this journey stuff is just about learning and finding out the names and the celebrities in the world of jiu-jitsu. As you go, when I started a year ago, maybe the same for you when you started 2 years ago, you didn't know anybody in the thing, even to the likes of, well, this is your first introduction to martial arts. Had you actually done any martial arts before jiu-jitsu?
So I actually trained in the gym next door. So where I train at the moment, there used to be like a striking gym next door. And I basically, it was literally like a couple of months before lockdown, was like, do you know what? I want to try. I've done a little bit of like boxercise. And the gym that I had been doing my boxercise and stuff in, the classes had stopped. And I was like, well, actually, I'd quite like to do a little bit more. And I found this place, and actually it was really good. I was the only female there, only female training. And it was really nice. And then over lockdown, it closed down. And then what I wanted was basically at some point, I feel like I kind of glanced over the fact I probably wanted to do like an MMA fight. I have no idea why, but my ground game wasn't overly good. And I used to do weights with the PT over in Kingswood. And he basically was like, oh, I know Clayton and Luke. Go and speak to Clayton, drop him a message and go and train, go and see if you like jiu-jitsu. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I dropped Clayton a message, went in, was like, oh my God, why? Why am I even here?
Okay, you survived that first session, so we're okay.
Literally, yeah. And then, just kind of had a bit of over those couple of months, bit of a fluffy fallout with it. But carried on going. So
Good.
Long story short, yes, I have some previous striking experience, which we now do striking classes as well. So, which is quite good.
Nice. I knew there was something more in there, regardless. And I know we've kind of spoken a bit before, but I'm always intrigued when people start training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just from my own experience, not having done any martial arts whatsoever before. But I know, a lot of the people in our school train MMA. They do the striking. They do all sorts of additional things. And do you know what? You can tell when they're on the mats. Yeah. And I'm going, maybe I should do other things. But I will come on now to the judo throw. And I know I've been seeing on socials a lot of judo influence in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm really intrigued. I did manage to catch Julia's judo throw, but tell me from a first-person perspective from being there.
It is amazing. So the camps that she does, obviously judo as a takedown technique is really important. There's so many aspects to jiu-jitsu where, you've got to stand up, and it's not just about wrestling. You have those kind of high volume takedowns. And I think she's very good at teaching. She's got a bit of a kind of a no bullshit type, the way she teaches. And she basically, that throw, I've been taught that throw a couple of times now, and I've never hit it in the way that she does. But my God, she did it in practice, and it was just like a nice gentle throw. And then she sat us down and basically went, right, put a crash mat out, and basically just bammed this poor girl into the crash mat, who was like, yay.
Amazing.
But quite lucky going up there. So the setup they've got at Carlson Gracie, obviously Julia is I think she's a black belt, but Owen Livesey, who's her partner, is quite a high level jiu-jitsu person as well, but he's a Commonwealth medalist in judo.
Oh wow!
As are his sisters.
So it runs in the family then.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. But the last.
Okay. Well, I've started the first generation. My kids are now training. Okay, 2 generations down. We're there.
Yeah. It's
give it 100 years or so.
Yeah. Like the last camp that she went on, basically his sisters were doing privates. So I went up there and it was basically an hour. Cost me 20 quid. It was an hour, and I'm still using some of those
wow.
things. I'm still trying to put those techniques in. And there's a couple of bits and pieces that I now add and are now in my stand-up game that I have learned on Julia's camps. And I think they're really important. So
it hadn't really occurred to me. We've got a couple of new people in the school, and they are black belt judo people. And I'm bow down to the skills and the abilities. But even the small things like, having the grips just a bit deeper than you would normally, there are just some very small things that I can imagine that if you continue to add and develop, then your game's just going to get better from a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu perspective. Yeah.
It isn't like it's the setup that Julia's got. And I'm a mad advocate for her because she's very much female orientated anyway. Like she's all about the women's camps, but the setup that she's got over that 2 days it's amazing. Like I would definitely recommend anyone go. It is literally in the arse end of nowhere. Like Hull is the arse end of nowhere, but there's not many places I would travel 4.5, 5 hours to get to for 2 days.
So tell me the setup. So you travel up there on the day, you start in the morning. Give me a quick rundown for anyone that's not done any camps like me. What does it entail? Just so that I can remove some of my anxiety into kind of stepping foot into a women's camp.
So I tend to go up like the night before. So it just makes life easier because then I'm there. I don't have to worry about timings, getting there, thinking about where I need to go. So it gives me that opportunity to just kind of chill that night before. Generally, you get there for the morning session. Morning session's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then you do a bit of sparring. Then it's lunchtime. Then you have an afternoon session with a little bit of sparring. And then generally on hers, you tend to go out on a Saturday night. I don't drink particularly huge amount anymore. They all go get wasted. And then Sunday morning, it's the same again. So session of go and do a bit of drilling, and then you do some sparring, and then you go home. So it's kind of like a day and a half. The other camps are kind of set up fairly similarly. So you have you get there, you'll do a little bit of a seminar, then you'll have some rolling time, then you'll have lunch, and then you'll have, the same again. And it's very much dependent on who the seminar's with, techniques will vary. Yeah. But I think she taught probably 4 or 5 throws over the weekend that I just went to. So yeah.
Good. I love the idea of one of these camps. I've got some friends in Mallorca, and I've seen that there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and yoga camp.
Yes,
I'm going. That would be really
very
nice.
Good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you spot a women's camp, go and sign up. Take that step, overcome any anxiety, get there the night before, prepare yourself, and just enjoy it. My mission about this podcast is really to encourage more women, but actually, being all together, learning those skills, and just being able to kind of experience the techniques and the skills of different women, and appreciate, each one of us as well. Because I think that's kind of the joy, and you go, there's utter respect for everyone.
I think as well, like it's very daunting going into a room full of women. Like it politics aside, like it's a very scary prospect. But I've never felt awkward. I've never felt like I'm in the wrong place. I've never really felt that I've not belonged there. Like it takes a little while. You kind of walk in the room and you're a bit like, oh my God, there's people here. I don't really know who to talk to. But you always lock eyes with someone. You always start a conversation with someone, even if it's just like oh, hi, I'm really nervous. Hi. So it's not scary, but it is. But I've never stumbled across anything where it's been like, oh, I wouldn't ever come here again. Like, yeah,
that's good.
I've never experienced that. So
fantastic. Now, you've given us a few tips about, if you have an injury on one side of your body, tape it up so that it's the same on the other side, so no one can kind of pinpoint and give you a hard time. Have you got any other advice for anyone wishing to start jiu-jitsu or already in their jiu-jitsu journey?
I think listen to your body. So I'm quite a good advocate of, I listen to what my body says. So I basically, Monday night, I got thrown and my shoulder, I basically trapped a nerve in my shoulder. And I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to train. Like, I probably could, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to take that time off. And I think sometimes, even if you're in a session and you are like, something just doesn't feel right, like pushing through it, especially as an older person, is not necessarily the right way to go. Like, I get that there is the kind of the bravado of, just tape it up, it'll be fine. And sometimes that can be the case. But sometimes when you're just like, oh, I'm really not feeling this, like, it's okay to not, I find, speaking openly, like, I have a week every month where my body is just hormonal. I want to cry all the time. I don't want to do anything. And I go there and I just go, do you know what? I'm not going to expect a huge amount out of my body tonight. I'm just going to go. I'll see how I get on. If I don't stay for 2 hours, I don't stay for 2 hours. I just take it session by session and we'll just see how it goes. And I think that's important. Like, it's just listening to what your body's
absolutely. We some of us have menstrual cycles and not quite, I'm in denial about perimenopause at the moment, so I'm not going there. I'm like, nope, I've still got my regular cycle. But I completely with you. A week or so, a month, life does feel really quite challenging. And I think just giving yourself a bit of a break and go, okay, I'm just gonna do what I can do this month. This month, God, no, this week.
Feel like that sometimes.
Okay, we're surviving. How many? I need a little check count on the word survive or surviving. But and I think it's really hard. When you're training with men and other women. It's having that awareness that, I guess it's that you could pretend, or you could go, this is me unmasking, this is how I am right now, and that's okay. I'm okay with it. And actually there needs to be, everyone else needs to kind of be okay with it. That sounds a bit selfish, but I think, there's that appreciation for differences and abilities and, what stuff's going on outside as well.
I think different people handle things in different ways. Like, I get really tired, my boobs just die, and what I don't want is someone piling pressure on me. And I think you're in a predominantly male atmosphere, and men don't understand. Literally, like, I have no idea what happens every month. But I think being more open with how we feel, I think is really, really important. And I think just sort of saying, look, can you just lay off, ease that pressure a little bit, because it hurts, and I think if you're rolling with a woman and I had it the other week where someone just planted me square and I was like, so painful. You just ease off that pressure slightly. And they're like, oh my God, I'm really sorry. But men obviously don't know, they don't understand that. So being open with how you're feeling, how your body's feeling is really important. And it's the same for them as well. If they've got, if their ankle's hurting, their knees are hurting, they need to say. And it is, I think women, menstrual cycles, periods, it's not mentioned enough. But you are training in clubs that are predominantly men. So they literally have no idea. They don't know what's
like. I think it's healthy that we start to mention these things, and if there's something not kind of there, then that's okay. But it's normalizing the human body and what we need to do to survive, to kind of get through the session. I think you've brought up a really important point. So we'll have to have more of a discussion on it, but for now, it's just being mindful of each other. It's all right. I'm surviving. Yeah.
Hooray!
Okay, I'm going to have to count. Okay, if anyone can tell me how many survive or survivings we've mentioned throughout this episode, I will send you a free piece of merchandise in the post or hand it to you in person if you're someone local. Okay, that's a little challenge for you. Early Christmas presents.
Excellent.
So are you going to be training a lot over Christmas, or are you taking a bit of a break?
No, I will be continuing as normal. So generally, I think our club's open like Christmas Day, Boxing Day. So I think,
oh wow,
I think it would just be open mat. I don't know what I'm doing for Christmas yet. So yeah, no, I will be training as normal.
Nice.
Next, I think because I have some time off, it's quite nice because then I can just up my training a little bit and I can just kind of spend a bit more time on the mats. So yeah, be good.
I like that, the upskilling in the downtime. You know, jiu-jitsu schools don't close, and you can just go and make the most of it. You know, some time off, go and train a bit more, go and upskill, but listen to your body as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And to get notified of any special offers or the guests coming up on future episodes, head over to jujitsulu.com and sign up to the newsletter. Thank you again for listening. Catch you on the next episode.